All right, so I'm going to start presenting on where the City of Ottawa is at in terms of our looking at options to replace those small engine equipment that Juliet was mentioning. As part of that process there, I'm going to figure out how to go to the next slide. I'm going to go over some background information about what the City of Ottawa's plans are for overall emission reductions. I'll go through the council motion that's been put forward. It's actually a notice of motion, which should go to council in some point soon. Got some actions that we've done so far, as well as some areas of concern or questions that we have as we look to start implementing these transitions going forward. So generally, we have some emission reduction targets similar to what other municipalities have. We have community emissions and corporate emissions, and the different goals we have for reductions are displayed here. The corporate emissions will be, our goal is 100% reduction by 2040. And since our light duty equipment falls into that target there, we have a keen interest in understanding a little bit more about how other municipalities are handling this. Our city's fleet as well, this is specifically on the light duty and heavy duty sectors, but we have a transition plan to move to 60% electric by 2030 and then 100% electric by 2040. And we've already gotten some electric vehicles in our light duty fleet, but we're hoping to expand that going forward. And then we also have identified some major benefits to the community as well in reducing these GHG emissions, everything from reducing the impact of climate change on residents to a healthier public by reducing those air pollution metrics inside of where people actually live, and creating a more equitable and inclusive approach to reducing emissions and benefits that can be accrued across the residential space. So the motion itself that's being considered, this is actually not going to our meeting on the February 15th. It'll be deferred until March because of the ongoing protests in our region, which you've probably heard of before. But this will be moving forward at some point in March as part of our upcoming Environment and Protection and Wastewater Management Committee. The way this currently works and the way it's written is the City of Ottawa's Public Works Department will commit to phasing out the use of gas-powered lawn and yard equipment when that equipment requires replacement. And when those equipment pieces meet the operational needs within both the city-owned and contracted services. As well, that phasing out activity is supposed to begin as quickly as possible, starting in the summer operations of this year, and then we'll be reporting back to that committee by the end of 2022. And this motion may change before it's presented at that meeting, but that was how the motion was presented at the time, and it will likely, we're anticipating taking some actions in order to prepare for that motion to be coming into the public record. Some of the reasons that we're looking to make those switches, as Juliet has mentioned before, main concerns around air pollution from the incomplete combustion linked to that small engine equipment, and then also that they're not particularly fuel efficient, and they're also loud and for both users and local residents. Those are all items that are included as part of that motion that went forward. Some of this is also impacted by the National Capital Commission, which operates within the City of Ottawa as well on some of the federally contracted, federally owned lands within Ottawa. And they've already committed to eliminating the use of gas-powered equipment from their contracts. Some of those contracts will take effect this year and become active for the next 2 years. And those are along with also having goals to reduce their vehicle emissions by 80% by 2030. Many of the contractors who are engaged with the NCC are also engaged with the City of Ottawa. So because of those reciprocal maintenance agreements, there might be an opportunity to work together with the NCC on facilitating that transition going forward. Some of the things we've looked at to date, we've got our Public Works Department developing a pilot with different suppliers for commercial grade battery operated equipment to figure out whether or not they're suitable for our operations. Each municipality is slightly different in how the operations are, and the geography of Ottawa is different from a lot of municipalities, having some rural, some urban, and some suburban areas. So we'd like to kind of evaluate those different options going forward. And that general pilot will explore the cost, the function, the reliability, and the operational feasibility to determine how fast the transition to those battery-operated small engine equipment, or small equipment, I guess, now that doesn't have engines, how fast that transition can happen. As part of that, some of the proposed items we're looking at, or at least where our head is currently at, we'll have some crews outfitted with only battery equipment, with one supplier type per crew. Some of those operations will be compared against their gas-powered equipment, as well as against other suppliers of those battery equipment options. And then we'll be assessing the functionality and performance of the equipment under real-world operation. We're also looking to put out a tender to issue a pilot that will be gauging the interest in conversions of those equipments in 2022, to learn from our contractors about their kind of experience or their interest in moving forward with that. Other things we've got in line, we're also looking to engage with other municipalities to understand what their transition initiatives look like, the successes and challenges they've encountered as part of that process, and how those infrastructure needs change going forward. So everything from new electrical service at facilities, conduit in those facilities, what updates need to be done in 3 to 5 years or what needs to change in 5 to 10 years, the different timelines on those conversions, and what the differing needs are for both urban and rural communities in terms of their operational needs.
So I will now invite Carrah and Mary to present from Mississauga.
Thanks, Juliet. Okay, can you see the right screen?
Yes.
Yeah. Great. So I'll go ahead and kick us off and then pass it over to Mary. My name is Carrah Bullock. I'm a climate change specialist with the City of Mississauga. And I'm joined by Mary George, who's the manager of park operations and really the project lead. So the presentation will provide sort of an overview of the project scope, our procurement, some of the challenges that we've faced, and next steps. So I wanted to start off by just recognizing that the pilot was initiated back in 2010. We had some delays due to COVID and other reasons. That was concurrent with the development of our climate change action plan and our corporate green fleet and equipment policy. The climate change action plan was also approved in 2019, with the green fleet and equipment policy subsequently approved in 2020. And at least in part, as a result of the pilot, the city developed a green fleet and equipment policy that covers all fossil fuel using equipment, including equipment such as lawn care and small equipment. And that policy requires the staff to consider low and no emission technologies as part of the procurement process, as well as right sizing of equipment. Both the pilot and the policy contribute to the city's climate change mitigation goals, while also providing some of the co-benefits that Mitchell mentioned around improved air quality and reduced noise, which benefit both the staff using the equipment and the residents. So I will pass it over to Mary for the rest of the presentation.
Thanks, Carrah. I just want to let everyone know. I know it says my name is Carrah Bullock. It's not. It's just I used Carrah's login to come into the meeting today. So apologies, but my name is Mary George. I'm manager of park operations for the South District of the City of Mississauga. So I just want to start by saying as well that at the City of Mississauga, we have used electric equipment in various forms on a smaller scale for several years. We have e-gators that we've been using, like I'm sure most of you have, and we had been testing out trimmers and lawnmowers, electric trimmers and lawnmowers here and there, nothing on a larger scale. So this is the first time for the pilot that we decided to outfit an entire turf crew. To line up with what Mitchell was saying, we really wanted to be able to test the electric equipment turf crew against the gas powered that we do. I have 18 turf crews in the City of Mississauga, so starting with one is small, but that's where we started. So our scope project started with the 2 ride-on lawnmowers, 2 zero-turn mowers, a push mower, 2 trimmers, and 2 backpack blowers. That is our typical configuration on a turf crew. And the enclosed trailer that you can see on the slide was also a part of it. We wanted to go with an enclosed trailer for lots of reasons that I can get into. So if you want to switch, Carrah. Nice. Perfect. So our procurement started in 2019. We put our RFP up. It closed in the fall. We only received 2 bids. And GC Duke Greenworks were the successful bidder. They were the only ones who came with the assortment of equipment that we needed that either met or surpassed our specs. So that's who we've gone with. Carrah, if you want to switch for me. Perfect. So I will say, like everybody, COVID did throw a bit of a wrench in our plans, only because in 2020, we had the equipment, we had the trailer, which took some time to gather all of that together. We obviously wanted our trailer wrapped so that we could advertise this plan while we're out driving in the city. So there were a few setbacks, and then we just didn't get it up and running the way we hoped. We didn't have it fully packaged together until the fall of 2020. And of course, everyone knows we were mid-pandemic. So we did finally get it running in 2021 in the spring. We had some challenges for sure. Infrastructure, we had 2 locations in the city that we were going to put charging stations in. So the premise of this pilot is that all of the equipment plugs inside the trailer, and then the trailer itself plugs in to an external outlet. So because we were doing this after the fact, we had to do a lot of infrastructure work. We had to pull power, we had to tunnel under asphalt to find a good location to put this up the 2 depots. It was costly and it was time consuming. Then in the midsummer of 2021, one of the stations went down because we had a big electrical problem at one of the depots. So we ended up only being able to run it out of 1 depot. So this year we will be running both sites. So that's good news. If you want to switch, Carrah, for me. So we've had challenges for sure. Battery time is a huge one. Right now, our battery time is 20 minutes. So all of you know, if you're running turf equipment, that's not acceptable. You can't be mid-park and then have to come back and change a trimmer battery. So that has become an issue. But we've been providing feedback to Greenworks consistently. So they are upping the battery to a 4 amp battery, which should increase runtime. We'll see when it's out in the field if the 60% is accurate, if it does increase it that much, hopefully so. So that's been a huge issue for us. The zero turns, the ride-on mowers are running for about 3.5 hours a day, which is pretty good. Then they'll need to charge. The issue is that right now they have to come back to the yard to be charged fully. Our lunch is about a half an hour. We're only getting about a 30% additional charge onto that. So it's not enough to last us through the afternoon cutting. So some issues there, some issues with the steering, just being so responsive that, you almost couldn't control it. So Greenworks has smoothed that out and made that better. And then they're hoping to increase battery size on the ride-on mowers as well. So the push mowers have been, quite frankly, pretty awesome. Everybody likes them. No issues with battery time. They're not used primarily. We don't use a lawnmower a lot in our operations, but we do use them around our buildings more than out in the parks. But we haven't had any issues with them. The staff like them. They are nice and quiet, which is nice. I will say the zero turns are not quiet. Once the PTO is engaged, they're as loud as regular gas-powered machines. So originally we looked at them. We have a few cemetery operations in the city, and noise is always a concern there. So we thought these would be ideal for there, but it turns out right now that that's not the case. Once the PTO is engaged, it's hard to tell the difference between an electric and a gas powered or diesel powered machine. But while they're traveling, of course, they're very quiet. So so we'll continue to work with Greenworks. We're in contact with them quite regularly, always supplying feedback to them. We hope this year for sure to be able to compare with our gas powered turf crews versus the electric and look at some of the savings there. I think this year we'll have a better run at it. We have tried it in wet weather. We have tried it in the long growing season. Again, as you can imagine, all of that affects battery time. But we do want to put it in. We've got certain parks in the city that are more like trail sections. I've got a lot of parks down by the lake, which are heavy growers. So we do need to try them out in different locations to get some thorough feedback and accurate feedback on how they're working. I will say right now, the team likes them, but the battery is an issue for us. I think that's it for us.